Mandatory test, 1, 2, 3. Mandatory test. All right, and we're good to go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to part 3 of our Kingdom of Rizia stream. So, last time, disaster has struck as the Vejek side of the stands were bombed by a pro-Rijan monarchist at the Friendship Day celebrations. So, unfortunately, that makes it my problem to fix. Now, there is a suspicion that this was done by Suomina, the nationalist group within Rizia. So, potentially, that opens an opportunity for me to crack down on them, because I don't want them around. So this could potentially be a very strong thing for us. Let's read the preliminary. Preliminary report on the Friendship Day bombing incident. Vejek Intelligence released a thorough accounting of the events of the Vejek region Friendship Day. The explosion is said to have been caused by a detonation device planted under the grandstands in time to go off during the afternoon celebrations. Part of the stands collapsed in the blast, killing 3 Vejek civilians and injuring a further 14. Witnesses at the last event heard the shouted phrase, "For the king," prior to the blast, suggesting a political motivation in the involvement of pro-Rizia supporters. Valen's intelligence forces have indicated that the group Suomina is under particular suspicion for the attack. So, I don't like Suomina. I'm happy to get rid of them. So if this will improve my bond with Velen, that could potentially be very, very good for us. So, just taking a check of our reforms. Nothing new. And this is what we've done so far. The transition initiative, housing for the poor, work permits for labor hands, naturalization, a few energy sales with the dam coming about. Oh yes, the dam and the expansion of the offshore gas fields. Looking forward to this being completed. That'll be huge for us. As for our military, I mean, I'm considering training a few support divisions. Because that would be, I think support divisions would be pretty strong here, but I'm not entirely sure. I am interested in actually creating an industry plant for support vehicles, because 1, those are very good commodity to sell, and 2, they can also be used for, peaceful operations, such as emergency response. If only I knew how to speak English. Ties tattered. Unfortunately, I'm a bit sick, so sorry if my voice doesn't sound all that great. But let's continue. Update on the Gilles incident. Council Chambers. Palzrisha. Hi, Zargos. A few weeks had passed since the attack in Gilles. I called Lucita, Hugo, Titus, and Vina to my council chambers for security update. Titus insisted on sweeping the room before Vina and I sat down. Hugo was next to arrive, early as usual. Your Majesty, how are you faring? I'm worried about Velen's reaction. Smolk hasn't even made a public statement yet. Perhaps no news is good news in this case. Gentlemen. Everyone automatically fell silent as Lucita strode through the room. She was dressed in her army major's blazer, with 2 stars prominently displayed above her right breast pocket. Now that crisis had struck, her entire bearing had changed. She had a commanding air about her. At ease, Duchess Cesaro. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lucita sat and flipped open a dossier. I'll reiterate what we already know. At 1605 hours on December 8th, 1950, an explosion object in Small X Square in the city of Gilles. An explosive object detonated in Small X Square in the city of Gilles. It had been planted beneath grandstands that were set up in the morning. Seated in those stands were a mix of civilians and political figures who had been invited to the Friendship Day event, all of Vejek heritage. The most recent casualty report states that 3 civilians were killed in the blast. Of the 14 injured, all are now in stable condition. I want to see how she reacts to this. Don't forget that right before the attack, someone screamed for the king. I haven't forgotten, nor has Velen. She turned a page. Okay, that's a reaction that makes sense to me. Based on the scant evidence available, Velen's intelligence agency shows that the region nationalist group Suomina was behind the crime. She looked meaningfully at Hugo. I don't think it's Smolak. I don't think that at all. It just he is a bastard, but it just doesn't seem like him. I don't want to point the blame directly at Hugo, especially not this flagrantly by mentioning his son, so I'm going to say the views of those extremists do not represent those of the throne. We have to make that clear. The continued involvement of one Rico Torres would suggest otherwise. Ah, there it is. Oh, I'm glad she said it. I told you, Duchess Cesaro. I've already spoken to Rico. He had absolutely nothing to do with what happened. That's a good question. Why was I not included in that conversation? What were Suomina's activities like in the months leading up to the attack? Nothing out of the ordinary, a few marches. All peaceful events held to promote region values. Suomina is not and has never been... Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that, we're back. All peaceful events held to promote region values. Suomina is not and has never been a violent organization. I should clarify, the group's official activities have never been violent, but individual members have printed leaflets calling for a more creative solution to the Vejek problem. Sorry, I'm just going to check that my audio is still up. Yep, we're good. Okay. I don't understand why Cousin Rico would even support a group like that. Queen Lyja always said that monarchy was incompatible with nationalism. The crown knows no borders. Yes, Rico has no right using the Taurus name to serve his own xenophobic agenda. My son is as much of a Taurus as you are Princess Vina, and frankly, he should be commended for his efforts to protect the country from the miscreants. If I may, Your Grace, why have you never once thrown your own weight behind Suomino if you support its ideals? Oh, Your Grace, so not me. I was confused for a second. Hugo spread his hands wide. It would do the group no favors to have an old man like me in the spotlight. They need youth, vitality. They're the future of Rizia, after all. He smiled warmly at Vina. My daughter looked away. Future or not, we have no concrete proof Suomino was behind the attack. All we have is Velen's word. Why have we not looked into this ourselves? Our foreign intelligence agency is hamstrung by its limited resources, Your Majesty. With an increased foreign intelligence budget, we could commission a full investigation into the Gilles incident and take measures to prevent such an event from reoccurring. That's potentially a good idea. Might help with the Velen situation if they know we're responding to this. How much would that cost us? A significant portion of our emergency funds, but it'll be worth it. Our emergency funds. Okay. Pardon me, ma'am. Major. Duchess. All eyes turned towards the man in the golden blazer. May I point out that you weren't present on the day of the Gilles incident? The king and I were. Prior to His Majesty's arrival, my men and I attempted to clear the square of every conceivable danger. However, we could not be everywhere at once. What's your point, Mr. Gordon? The event has shown how vulnerable you and the royal family truly are, and how ill-equipped my men and I are to seek out and neutralize threats to your safety. Therefore, it is in my opinion that any emergency funding allocated in the wake of the Gilles attack should go towards re-expanding the Golden Guard. With more men under my command, I could also easily send a team to Asia to confirm or rule out Suomino's involvement in what happened. Lucida's jaw dropped. Hugo eyed Titus uneasily. Your Majesty, you recently conveyed your apprehension about re-expanding the Golden Guard's ranks and duties, but this incident would serve as an excellent opportunity for us to demonstrate our capabilities. Lucida spoke up sweetly. I'm sorry, but why wasn't I privy to this discussion? The expansion of the Golden Guard is a security-related issue, which, as the Council of War and Internal Security, falls under my purview. I feel like I want to be a bit more aggressive here. Usually I'm very, polite and, straightforward, but it's not her fucking business. My discussions. Okay, not one, not two. I like this response, honestly. It's not your place to question whom I talk to and when. If there's information worth knowing, I'll ensure it's shared when I deem it appropriate. Lucida scowled. I'm okay with this in this case because, yeah, it's not her business. I'm talking to my top guard. Fuck off. Now that the subject has been broached, I will gently point out that national security is not Captain Gordian's area of expertise. Ma'am, you must be aware of the historical role of the Golden Guard. Until very recently, we were much more than simple guardsmen. Previously, the Guard had the authority to conduct sensitive internal investigations without getting caught up in red tape. The royal family and Rizia were both more secure because of it. Lucida gritted her teeth. What you call red tape, I call accountability. You are asking for permission to act outside the law. I'm asking for permission to become a more agile, flexible arm of the law than any division currently in operation. This will benefit us both. What kind of investigations did you have in mind, Captain? I like his response. I'm very much considering it. I'm with Lucida on the what you call red tape, I call accountability thing. That's a worry of mine. I don't want them to act outside the law. But I think Gordian makes a strong point here. Your Majesty, given the resources, we could recruit a number of qualified individuals and equip them with the technology to carry out covert surveillance in Asia. Excuse me? Captain Gordian, I'm all for the expansion of the Golden Guard, but not if you insist on using it to chase a dead end. With respect, sir, we don't know whether it's a dead end, and investigating an organization with ties to the royal family is exactly the kind of sensitive mission the Golden Guard was built for. Perhaps so, Captain Gordian, but the attack took place in Velen. Any resources that go towards investigating it should be allocated there, not within Rizia. She, Hugo, and Titus glared at each other. You're the king. Got your own SSP. I also believe him to be the more trustworthy of the two. Fully agree. Yeah, I actually genuinely trust Gordian way more than Hugo. I don't trust Hugo at all. Lucida, I'm relatively trustworthy. I'm relatively trusting of her. However, she does have her own interests. But Gordian, I liked his responses in the conversation we had last time. We need more energy. Separately. The tension was broken by a knock on the door. Lorento came in, clearly out of breath. Excuse me, Your Majesty. My fellow counselors. These stairs never get easier. Take a moment, Mr. Escabel. Lorento sat down after catching his breath. He continued. I've just received word from Velen's foreign minister. President Smolak plans to make it public that Rizia nationalists were involved in the Gilles incident. Lucy's hands closed into fists. Our relations with Velen have been cordial enough that Smolak will not immediately blame the crown, but he will be expecting a response. He's just testing us. His government can't prove anything. One is useless. Two, I don't agree with. I don't think it was them. The Vegex are irrational. It's not a useful statement. I think I'll go with forr. I'll have to do whatever I have to. I'll do whatever I have to get President Smolak back on our side. That's dangerous, Your Majesty. Again, I don't love that answer, but it's just the least bad. It's dangerous, Your Majesty. If we begin offering concessions, there are no limits to what Velen will demand. May I ask what the 5 of you were discussing before I came in? Our security response to the Gilles incident. Duchess Azaro is requesting funds for foreign intelligence investigation in Velen, while Mr. Gordian would prefer the Golden Guard be given license to investigate threats within Risha's borders. Yeah! Yeah! Gordian makes me think of Carl. I agree. I think there's a lot of similarities. He would commit atrocities for you because he has absolute faith in you. Lucida feels more like the generals. The coup, you're peaceful. Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I don't think it's Velen, though. That's the thing. I fund Duchess Azaro's investigation and exposed Veshik wrongdoing. Smolak won't have a leg to stand on. I don't think it was them. I just don't. I don't think Smolak would hit his own Smolak's a bastard, and he'll happily, suppress anybody who goes against him, but I don't think he'd go as far as to bomb his own Vejek civilians. He would absolutely do this if it was a bunch of, British people in the stands, not Vejeks. Actually taking up Titus's offer to conduct a thorough investigation of Suomino could have pacified Velen. And I like that response. I agree with that response. But also, I want to say, well summarized, Vina, because I agree. Yeah, well summarized, Vina. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lucida raised an eyebrow at Titus, pleasantly surprised. Lorento raised an eyebrow at Titus, sorry, pleasantly surprised. Interesting initiative, Mr. Gordian. Following up on Velen's leave with our own internal investigation would certainly make diplomatic sense. Would it? Or would it cast unnecessary suspicions on the royal family? I hate him. I agree, it's dangerous to investigate an organization that His Majesty has blood ties to. But officially clearing Suomino's name would be a boon for both the group and the kingdom. So, Your Majesty, will you be conducting one of these investigations? Yeah, I'm firmly with Gordian here. I want to give him the... Oh my god, 3 budget? Jeez. Why is it so expensive? I thought these were emergency funds. I thought they were emergency funds. Shit. Okay. Alright. Alright, I'm with Captain Gordian here. I like your gumption, Captain Gordian. I'll get you the resources you need to look into Suomino, and then some. Titus forcefully saluted. Thank you for your trust in the Golden Guard, sir. We won't fail you. Lucida scowled. I'm expecting results, Mr. Gordian. No idea if it does anything, but do it. Yeah, I'm feeling confident about this, especially if it means cracking down on Suomino, because actually I think that's actually a fairly likely answer, and I want to see if it's true or not. And Gordian will actually check. That's the thing. He'll actually go look if it's true or not. If it's not, okay. If it is, well, we know how to respond to that. I'm expecting results, Mr. Gordian. And I'm expecting tact and discretion, needless to say. Stop hassling my guard. My trust in Titus should be enough assurance for you both. There's still the matter of the king's public response. Do you have any suggestions? I suggest you tell the truth. You take Velen's intelligence seriously and will be conducting your own investigation into suspected perpetrators. Emphasizing, of course, that Suomino is a lone wolf that does not represent the views of the crown. Hugo sniffed. Or express your confidence that the group is innocent, which it is. I find it unwise to confirm or deny Suomino's innocent before your information is known, but I'll leave it to you, Your Majesty. It seems the next steps are quite clear. Or was there any other subject that needed discussion? I'm quite satisfied with our results today. I'm with Lorento. Like, fully, firmly with Lorento. This is a perfect response, I think. Velen's intelligence, we're taking it seriously. We're conducting our own investigation. Oh, Suomino is a lone wolf and does not represent the views of the crown. Perfect. I like it. Perfect. And I do not have any confidence the group is innocent. So, screw them, frankly. Yes, you're all dismissed. Enjoy the rest of your day. The others began filing out of the room. Titus stayed behind. He walked up to me and looked me in the eyes. Thank you once again, Your Majesty. You have the Golden Guard's undying loyalty. Ooh, we can investigate the poisoning. Yeah, you know what? I have faith in him, and I've just given him the funding. I've given him the trust. He protected me back in Gilles. I trust him. Maybe I'll regret trusting him. You sometimes always regret trust, but sometimes you need it. That's the thing about... That's not to get, you know, too sentimental or anything. That's the thing about vulnerability. It can bite you in the ass, but when you have it, it's a good thing. A genuinely good thing that you can't get from anywhere else. So I'm going to put faith in him. Good. Because there's one more other investigation I'd like you to conduct for me. Yes, sir? I'm going to say it directly. I'd like to know exactly how my father died. I have reason to believe that his death was no accident. Titus froze in place. He spoke in a low voice. As you know, I was there in the palace when it happened, and believe me, I have some questions of my own. Should everyone who was present that night be considered a suspect? Do I leave Pabel out of it? Yeah, I don't think it's Pabel. I don't find that likely. Yeah, I don't think it's Pabel. I don't think it's Pabel, but does that mean I don't include him in the investigation? I don't know. I really don't have it. Okay, here's the thing. If none of these come up, and then, like, that basically leaves... You don't think the butler did it? Yes, I do not think the butler did it. Also, if I basically investigate everybody and leave my butler out of it, and it comes up, you know, everybody comes up empty, then Pabel puts under suspicion. But frankly, he told me what was going on. He told me when the guards weren't around. He told me, like, specifically that he thinks it was the plant. And his response, like, you know, as his, like, my father's response as he was dying. So I trust him on that one. And if everybody comes up completely clean, then, yeah, we can look into Pabel if it comes to it. I hope it doesn't, but if it comes to it. Almost everyone. Leave my butler out of it. Titus nodded seriously. Consider it handled. I expect an update soon, along with the progress on Suomina. Titus gave a dutiful bow and left the room. I picked up a pen and began drafting a response to Velen. Alright. I thought it was an emergency fund. That's so frustrating. Okay. International eyes on the palace. Time to get those Rumberg flags out of storage. For the first time since His Majesty's King Romus' coronation, Queen Beatrice is scheduled to visit Port Draslin. Oh, great. That'll be fun. Okay, what have we got going on? Order. Neutral Golcondas community. That's good. Powerful King's Guard force. Also good. Hopefully. I hope they don't get too big for their britches on that one. Yale's Vegeta community holds Friendship Day Vigil. That's good. The Vegeta community in Hales held a candlelight vigil in honor of the victims of Friendship Day bombing in Gilles. Members of the Brennas Police Department were on hand to prevent potential violence between the mourners and the Hales chapter of Suomina, which is banned from holding a celebratory rally several days prior. Good. Queen Beatrice greets Rumbergians and Bronaz. Excuse me. Ahead of her state visit to Port Draslin, Queen Beatrice of Rumberg graced Bronaz with a royal presence, giving a short address to the city's large population of ethnic Rumbergians. From the balcony of Bronaz City Hall, she praised the city's Rumbergian diaspora for preserving their rich heritage while also embracing our local culture. Yeah, it's a decent response. I'm okay with that. Alright, what have we got here? Expand border guards? No. Anti-narcotics? No. What is it? Here we go. Oh, allow free press. Ooh. In concurrence with the Region People's Party initiative, this decree ensures the unassailable right to a free press, establishes the freedom of media entities to operate without undue influence from public or private sectors, ensuring the citizens' access to a plurality of viewpoints and information. Resolute step towards transparency. Interesting. That could be really good. Takes all my authority, though. We'll come back to that. Trade, turn that down. Belgial Intelligence Hub. I don't love this. Gathering crucial information. I mean, I do want to encourage them to reunite with us, but I don't think this is the best way to do it. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the decision. Excuse me. I do want to create a support vehicle factory, though. I think this would be really, really good. But I don't have the authority or the budget. Or the energy, to be honest. And we're still building up everything else. I'm honestly very inclined to... Where is it? Oh, wait, tenant protection laws. Ooh. That could also be good. We still have a housing crisis, don't we? That'll be economy, right? No, that'll be welfare. Affordable housing initiative, yeah. Good welfare state, good living standards. Worsening housing crisis. Oh no, my thing got absolutely kind of bugged. Oh no. An acute housing crisis grips the nation, characterized by unaffordable pricings and a dire shortage of reasonable housing. This escalating problem has led to increased homelessness, and significant distress among many citizens. Let's save money for now. I do want to deal with that, but I do want to save money. Gilles statement. Statement regarding the Gilles bombing and the naming of SO suspect. The press is expecting an official government statement from Rizia in the wake of the Gilles incident. In particular, they expect the king to either denounce or defend the nationalist group Suomina, who have been accused of being involved in the bombing. Denounce and distance the crown from Suomina, defend and proclaim innocence of Suomina, issue a neutral response. Denounce and distance the crown from Suomina. I liked, oh god. What's his name? Lorento. I like Lorento's response. I think it's solid, and I'm going to denounce them. Denounce and distance the crown from Suomina. Country relation updated. Neutral? Is that better? I don't know. High military manpower pool. Oh, that's good. I mean, it's something, I guess. 76 arrests. Whoa. Whoa, that's insane. 76? Belgic authorities have arrested at least 76 people in the Gilles region on suspicions of connection to the bombing, many of region and Polish origin, of fucking course. The whereabouts of many of the detained are unknown, which is starting to worry international observers. Shit, that's not good. Maybe I should remove Golconda's blasphemy law. That might not be a bad idea. Ugh. I can't do it right now. Things are too dicey with Velen. The free press is also... I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll come back to this. Right now, visit from Queen Beatrice of Rumburg. Gold Room, Palace Regna. Vina Estella and I sat in Palace Regna's most ornate stateroom, awaiting the arrival of Queen Beatrice Livingston. An informal supper with my sister-in-law was scheduled for the evening, but for now, the protocol and an official diplomatic visit had been observed. Pavel came in through the stateroom door. He took a deep breath. Announcing Her Majesty Beatrice Livington, Queen of the Four Corners of Mercopa, Defender of Castle Sarsborough, Conqueror of the Trunkle Sea, Stout Protector of the Ancient Lands of Rum, Descendant of the Most Honorable King Edward I, and the Rule of Rumburg. Fuck off. No free press, it's a terrible idea. I like it, though. I mean, it may not be the best idea as far as, like, you know, securing my control, because obviously it does the opposite of that, but I think it's a good idea for, like, the long term. King denounces rogue organization Suomina in bombing aftermath. Still reeling from the Friendship Day explosion that killed 3 civilians and endangered the life of King Romus, the Londoners indicate that the recent organization Suomina was behind this heinous act. In response, His Majesty made a public statement accusing the group of going rogue and spreading unnecessary violence in his name. We can only hope the perpetrators will be swiftly brought to justice and security restored in the region of Zeal once more. Let's be alarmed by CSP's growing influence in Mercopa. He stepped aside and Queen Beatrice entered. She was wearing an emerald green crown that matched her tiara. Gown. Vina, Estelle, and I rose to greet the Queen. Kiss Beatrice on the cheek. I kissed my sister-in-law on the cheek. She returned the gesture just warmly. Thank God. What a pleasure to see you, Your Majesty. We barely had the chance to speak at the coronation. And my dear niece. She turned towards Vina. Why, you're looking more and more like your mother every day. I hope your father's proud of the lady you've become. I am, and I know Lino would have been too. Remember Caronti and the Radical? Now combine them. That's what you get with freedom of the press. I mean, fair, and I obviously don't like either of them, but honestly, I think free press is important, especially in a state that doesn't allow any of it. Vina managed a wee smile. It's lovely to see you, Aunt B. Beatrice embraced her tightly before moving on to my mother. The two women gave each other air kisses and stood back and eyed each other. Queen Beatrice? Queen Mother Estella? She tilted her face upwards and gave a short sniff. The palace looks as magnificent as always, but I fear a chat with your housekeeper may be in order. Every time I visit, it smells the faintest bit like trash. My mother feigned a puzzled look. Is that so, Your Excellency? Funny, I do seem to detect an unpleasant draft of hot air, but only since you walked in. Do I... Pabel, please look into these matters at once. The air quality in the palace might be compromised. If it's not, then it's fine, but if it is, you can just open a window or something. Pabel bemusedly raised an eyebrow. Right away, Your Majesty. If you'll excuse me, I shall take my leave. I have a terribly urgent appointment out on the other side of the palace. By all means, Your Highness, our chatter is far more boring than the sort of kerosene you're used to. Vina, why don't you run along as well? We'll catch up over supper. Vina reluctantly nodded. Sure, Aunt B. Have the staff give my room a ring when you're done. I'll see you two out. Just a moment. Pabel walked Beatrice and myself over to a pair of velvet armchairs. Next to them was a table upon which a towering silver Rumburgian tier urn had been set up. Hello. Hello. He filled 2 porcelain cups for us, then escorted Vina and my mother out the door. Beatrice motioned for her own attendants to wait outside. We settled into our seats. To what do we owe this pleasure, Your Excellency? First things first. Queen Beatrice extended her little finger and raised her teacup to her lips. She smiled approvingly. Just like home. My compliments to your butler. Now, how are you faring a year into your reign? I know you had quite the scare in Zeal. I'm less scared by what happened than by the ramifications of it. That is the correct manner of thinking. Needless to say, Rumburg has been monitoring the fallout of the incident with great concern. Your concern is much appreciated. She nodded. Aside from my worries about your personal safety, I foresee a scenario where Velen uses this tragedy for its own gain. And Velen amassing more power is not in either of our interests. Correct, Your Majesty? And Velen amassing more power is not in either of our interests. Correct, Your Majesty? Not as long as they have our land. Precisely. Beatrice leaned forward and held my gaze. Of course, we're the same age, Your Majesty, but I've worn my crown for many years longer than you yours. I and my country are far more experienced at dealing with the Republic of Velen and their backers in the CSP. By indicating that you regard your own countrymen as culpable for the bombing, you are putting yourself in a position of weakness from the start. Have you thought about your next steps? What will you do if Mr. Solek fails to relinquish his hold in Gilles? We will exercise diplomacy until an agreement is reached. That sounds simply wonderful, Your Majesty, until you arrive at the bargaining table and realize your pockets are empty. To that end, Rumburg is prepared to provide assistance with the delicate situation in which you found yourself. Do go on, Queen Beatrice. Here's what I suggest, Your Majesty. As you may know, Rumburg is currently a major importer of Ejek oil. If we were to significantly reduce our imports, the financial pressure, and thus your leverage over Vellum, would be considerable. Wait, how much oil are you importing from Velen? Enough to seriously make a dent in the country's economy were our purchase orders to diminish. But in fact, my advisors and I have been speaking about forging new energy partnerships. And as it happens, Rizia is about to come into possession of quite a bit of natural gas, correct? We don't know yet. Our scientists are still figuring out the details. I see. Very interesting. I was about to propose that Rumburg purchase region energy in lieu of Vejek oil. We enrich your country and assist you with your Velen problem in one fell swoop. What kind of timeline are you thinking about? We can cut off our orders to Vejek oil immediately, as long as you grant us a small amount of energy up front to add to our stockpile. We'd then give you a 1-year grace period to make the transition, after which, I warn you, our needs will be quite substantial. Interesting, but how would region gas even reach Rumburg from here? I'm quite sure some of the same ships that carry out our gold trade can be retrofitted to transport natural gas in its liquidated form. Of course, an immediate modernization of your Monkey's port would be required to handle the excess shipping traffic. Yes, that's true. Can I look at my... Oh, I can't. That was one thing I did want to do, actually. I completely forgot about it, but I did want to construct that port, because, you know, we're getting Swordish imports now. That can be arranged. Even if you don't ship us gas, getting that port into tip-top shape would make our gold trade more efficient. Would we have to replace all the oil you've been purchasing? What about only part of it? Rumburg would prefer to eliminate its energy dependence on Velen entirely. But of course, we wouldn't want Risha to make an overly rash promise, so yes, a partial embargo on our end is possible. So you believe Velen can find another customer? Believe it or not, Victor Smolak has managed to alienate Velen from most of his neighbors. I know our partners in Grace would surely follow suit and cut their own ties. This is a serious promise. What happens if I can't keep up my end of the guarantee? We'll have to find a more reliable trading partner, for energy as well as other materials. And I will be most displeased. Okay, I think I have a good grasp on the particulars of the deal you're suggesting. And what do you think of the idea? I do like it. I do really like it. That gets us a huge influx of extra cash. It puts a lot of pressure on Velen. It gets us more support in Gilles. We modernize the port. That'll do good for Swordish imports. That'll do good for Rumburg imports. We can sell more natural gas. And we'll have a lot of extra capital. A lot of extra capital. And this field will only be done in 2 or 3 more turns. I think 2. I think it was 3 turns. I think there's 2 left. And the dam is almost done, meaning we can probably take that up. I love it, honestly. I think I want to take it. It's risky, but I think it's a good move. We'll have to expand the port, of course. And we'll also have to do a bit more drilling. Again, of course. But with the hydroelectric dam being done, we'll have a lot more stockpiles to sell. And with the gas field here, we'll have that. You know what? I think I'm going to take the deal. It's risky, of course, because if we can't hold up our end of the bargain, we'll have a big problem on our hands. But it's a really good deal. Yeah, I'm with it. I love it. You buy less oil from Velen, and we'll make up the difference with our natural gas and other energy sources. Thrilling. How much less oil, then? Ooh, do I want to take it? Do I want to go all the way and cut off Velen entirely? Or do I want to have their imports? -2 energy per turn. Go big or go home. Maybe. That's the one problem, though, is we'll be completely depleted for 2 turns. Because 2 more energy, right? That means, yeah, -2 energy per turn. So that's just everything. And 3 energy up front, meaning we only have 1. That's a big risk. I'm not sure. Because on the one hand, I really do want to make a full statement, just really put the squeeze on Velen. And also we'll be making a lot more money when the gas production starts rolling. But I don't... I wish I could look at these again, but... This will get us 3 energy per turn, I think, and this will get us 2 more energy by turn. In my heart, I really want to go screw it, your excellency, cut off Velen completely. Because that would be a really aggressive move that would put a lot of pressure on Velen and, you know, give us a lot of control over Gilles. And again, we'll make a lot of money off of that. But I don't think we can promise it long term unless we really ramp up our energy production, and I want to diversify the economy. But with the gas field and the dam... Yeah, no, I put myself in way too vulnerable position if I cut off Velen completely, because that's 3 energy up front, -2 energy. We're basically out of energy for like 2 turns, and that makes us possible that we have to buy more, and we can't really afford that. So I'm going to go with half. I'm going to take the more reasonable option and go with half. 2 energy up front, not bad. -1 per turn. We'll still have a little bit of a stockpile, and we'll still be able to get, you know, 2 more in case we need an extra buff. And if we really, really need to, buying energy will be a far less dangerous problem. Can you have your imports? We'll provide some from our stockpile now and more in the future. Certainly. It may not have as much of an impact as you were hoping, but it also won't be as much of a leap of faith on our part. This will all need to be formalized by my parliament and your government, of course. A verbal agreement between in-laws is hardly sufficient. I agree completely. My counselors and your foreign ministers can iron out the small print. Precisely. We handle the big pictures while the underlings take care of the particularities. Moving on to equally important matters. How are the princess marriages plans coming along? I wouldn't know. Do I want to say that? Honestly, I have too much on my mind to even start thinking about that. Well, don't dilly-dally much longer. An unmarried royal is catnip for the tabloids. They had quite the field day with my Bradley before I secured his betrothal. Betrothal. They had quite the field day with my Bradley before I secured his betrothal. Vina's a modest girl. She won't do anything worth gossiping about. Never underestimate the ability of international press to manufacture royal scandals from thin air. Don't forget the rest of Grace is invested in the Taurus line of succession as well. Our partners will be looking for reassurance after your coronation speech. Which partners do you mean? All of them, Your Majesty. Just as the world's remaining monarchies pledge to enter an era of increased cooperation, you tell your entire country you intend on giving the people a voice. What am I to make of that, Your Majesty? Or Narbuk? Or the baronies of Sordis? I think 3's a really good answer here. Giving the people a voice doesn't mean giving up monarchy. Isn't your own country governed by a parliament? Technically, yes, but it has roughly as much power as your House of Delegates. You were lucky to escape in 1926 uprising with your head. To make such a public overture towards democracy is to tempt fate. Thank you for warning me. I shall keep your words in mind. I hope you shall do more than that. She rose to leave. I shall see you at supper, Your Majesty. The Queen gave the door a swift knock. Her attendants opened it, bowing as they did so. She paused. Congratulations on your recent trade deal, by the way. Although I wouldn't trust the swords any further than I could throw them. She walked out with her gown trailing behind her. Okay. Okay, we need to check out construction. Excavation. Oh yeah, I do want to boost our tourism industry. Yes, this needs to happen very fucking soon. Insufficient budget to enact decree. How much do we need? 3? Ugh. That's not good. Wait, what if we sell our tanks? We could sell the tanks. We're not building anything with them. We're not using the tanks. One authority, 3 budget. Yeah, then we can modernize the port immediately, right? If I'm not mistaken. 1 authority, yep, 3 budget, sure. 2 turn construction, -1 energy per turn on completion. Yeah, that'll be good for storage imports, that'll be good for the Roomberg imports. I think we just do it. Yeah, gun it, honestly. Sell first batch of tanks. We don't need these. We're not going to be making a tank-based army. It's not happening. So, get rid of them. Fuck it. And then we will Monkey's Port Naval Shipyard expansion. The Monkey's Port Naval Shipyard expansion decrees a strategic move to bolster Rija's maritime and naval capacities. By significantly enlarging the Monkey's Port, it aims to augment global trade operations and strengthen naval shipbuilding and maintenance capacities. The outcome is not only a potential doubling of trade benefits, but also an enhanced naval force. Signaling Rija's dedication to economic and defensive development. It is also expected to significantly boost the province of Lancaria's resource extraction industry. Perfect. Let's do it. Wait. Sorry. 1 authority, 3 budget, 2 turn construction. Yep. Let's do it. Alright. So it is. And I don't think there's anything else to do with, energy. Just the stuff we're already doing. This'll be good, though. Excavation of Tope's ancient resident city. That will be really good, if we can do that soon enough. We'll need more budget, we'll need more authority, of course, but with the port under construction, that's pretty good. Pretty good indeed. Second bench of tanks. I'll be -50 tanks. How many do you have? I never plan to use the tanks, so it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, we're out of tanks. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, not a problem. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see what we got here. Roomberg average energy exports. Good, improving. Very nice. Monkey's Port expansion ordered. Yep, of course. CSP's investments in Namibia achieved poverty reduction milestone. Interesting. Swordfish magnate Marcel Caronti checks in on resort construction progress. He'll probably be pretty happy about the shipbuilding as well. In Monkeys, acting Duke Hubertus Torres welcomed Heart of Swordland co-owner Marcel Caronti for a visit to the still under construction Caronti Resort in Valencuries. The business magnate expressed his approval at the resort's progress and his eager anticipation of the opening. Swordfish businessman Walter Tusk goes on holiday in Valencuries wine country. The Cantuavo winers in Calais welcomed Swordfish oligarch Walter Tusk and his family, who spent a night in the winemaker's luxury villa before continuing on a short tour of Valencuries wine country. Tusk confided in his newfound interest in the region was inspired by the recent availability of region wine in Swordland. Alright, cool. Valgish Heritage Week allowed to proceed in Fort Els. Yeah, what wouldn't it be? Pales Administrative District, blah blah blah. However, the week seemed to have proceeded peacefully, with only a few clashes between local regions and those of Valgish Parisian heritage. Golden Guard expands ranks and begins investigation. On the authorization of the king, Captain Titus Gordian has tripled the ranks of the Golden Guard from 12 to 36 individuals. While Captain Gordian and his original team will stick to their original duty of protecting the King of Rizia, the royal family, the extra 24 recruits have been dispatched to the province of Brenas to begin their investigation in Suomina. Excellent. Very good. This is very, very good. Family visit to Ija. Send diplomatic envoys. Interesting. One authority, one budget. Ugh, okay. Okay, let's see it. In a bid to strengthen international relations, fortify alliances, it's proposed to send a diplomatic envoy to a nation of our choice. Palais, Velen, Dirgia, or Morella. The success of this mission could lead to enhanced trade, cooperation, and mutual understanding. I'm leaning towards Palais. We've already got good relations with them. I think improving that would be good. And we can cover the rest. Dirgia, Velen's already got a lot of pressure on it, so that's good. Morella and Dirgia, we can definitely improve our relations by sending them more and trading more. But I think focusing on Palais is a good idea. And we've already got the ATA working there. So yeah, Palais. Let's do it. We're a bit broke and lack a fair bit of authority, but it's something. Cedric Relfel arrives in Palais. Famed diplomat Cedric Relfel has arrived in Palais to lead our country's diplomatic mission to Palais. During his stay, he will visit various political and economic leaders, as well as tour the country in an effort to improve relations. Very good. Very, very good. Alright, we move on. Family visit to Isha. After months of promises and scheduled conflicts, Bina and I were finally on our way to visit our cousin Rico Torres. Shit. At his palace in Isha. The city's main road was straight and impossibly wide, a relic of Markian times when the city was a major trading center. I waved out the car window to the crowds of citizens lining up the road. Up ahead loomed the domed library of the university. I noticed most of the people who'd come out to see us were native Rizian, even on the streets of the city's Vejek quarter, Little Rakovets. We passed a street cleaner who was rapidly trying to scrub graffiti off the side of the building. I could just make out the remnants. They read, "House Taurus will fall." Vina didn't seem to notice. She looked lost in thought. Hugo's meeting us here too, right? Why do you think they wanted us here so badly? I suspect the Golden Guard investigation I ordered will be the main topic of discussion. I can't even remember the last time Cousin Enrico and I properly spoke. When we were children, maybe? We rode on until we reached Palace Sazon. Under Rico's stewardship, a formidable-looking iron gate had been constructed around the otherwise tranquil palace complex. His security led us through to the Duke's residence, a blindingly white building with flags of Rizia and House Taurus hanging from every window. We walked up to the doors. As soon as the guards opened them, a pair of long-nosed Rizia hunting dogs raced towards us, barking. Pet the dogs. I reached out and carefully gave each of the dogs a pat on the head. Bella, Bruno, sit! Both dogs promptly sat at attention, still as statues. I heard the sounds of boots on tiles as my cousin Rico approached. He was wearing an olive-green tweed jacket and a flat cap. He gave me a quick bow of acknowledgement, then knelt and kissed Vina's hand. I was struck by his transformation from a gawky, insecure teen to a broad-shouldered, preternaturally confident young man. Welcome, my cousins. It has been far too long. Greetings, your grace. I trust father informed you of today's plans. We leave for the woods in an hour. Wait, what? Hugo appeared from behind his son, a sheepish look on his face. Your first hunt as king. I wanted it to be a surprise. I don't want to say let's go shoot something. I appreciate it, but I was hoping the four of us could have a serious conversation. We'll have plenty of chance for that. 9/10 of the sport is waiting, after all. Fair enough. Not when you have this. He turned around and showed us a KA-74 semi-automatic rifle strapped to his back. Hugo turned up his nose disapprovingly. It's semi-auto. I thought it was full auto. Interesting. Isn't that cheating? Boars are speedy bastards. You'd be surprised, Your Highness. He smiled rakishly at my daughter. We have outfits prepared for the two of you, and your choice of weapons, of course. I kind of wanted to shoot the KA. Sure, whatever. I want a KA-74, same as Rico. See, father? We'll have bagged a dozen boars before you've even finished loading. Why stop there? Why not hire an airplane and shoot them from the sky? What a splendid idea. Remind me to plan that for the next time. I do wish I'd known about these plans. I've never so much as held a gun before. Come now, I'll teach you. It'll be great fun. Inside, Vienna and I quickly refreshed ourselves and changed into the hunting garb that had been laid out for us. We stepped out and found 2 waiting jeeps. I kind of want to give Vienna an out here. She prefers to ride with me. I mean, I don't want to ride with Hugo. I have no interest in that. Duke Rico, I do have a lot to discuss with him. Vienna, care to share a car with your old man? Rico swiftly interjected. If you don't mind, Your Majesty, I've had this car prepared for the two of us. He gestured to his side, who held the door of the first jeep open. The two of us stepped in. Okay, I guess I'm talking to him anyway. Fair enough. East of the palace, the landscape quickly turned hilly and green. You were entering the Brennes Forest Estate, a private hunting ground reserved for nobility only. I turned away from the window to see Rigo looking at me intently. You must already know what I'm about to say, Your Majesty. I knew you didn't approve of the company I keep here in Asia, but to accuse of them, of terrorism? I had no other choice. I'm trying to avoid an international incident. Well, I humbly request that you try harder. Whatever you may think of us, Suomina did not plan the Gilles attack. A light smirk formed on his face. Though I can't say I wasn't happy to see those Vejeks get what's coming to them. Uh-huh. Sure. I don't want to make a threat. Either, so you want me to believe your organization is completely innocent, or for heaven's sake, son, have some respect for the dead. I'm gonna go with this. So you want me to believe your organization is completely innocent. In Velen? Yes. Your investigation into us will turn up nothing. But if you want this mess cleared up in time for Gilles to be returned, I think I can help you. How? If you want this mess cleared up in time for Gilles to be returned, I can help you. Okay, I'm intrigued. He cleared his throat. The people in my organization are loyal to me, Your Majesty. Very loyal. If 1 or 2 of them were to confess to the attack as a splinter cell acting independently of both Suomina and the Crown, it'd solve both of our problems. Velen's investigators aren't stupid. They'd uncover the truth. Not if the truth is that Velen itself was behind the attack. Of course you're saying that. My hunch is they're counting on Rizia to deny the crime so they can postpone the Gilles handover. They're counting on Rizia to deny the crime so they can postpone the Gilles handover. By handing over my men, we'd be calling their bluff. And the fact that this would put a premature end to my investigation into Suomina? A nice little bonus for you, I presume. And for you as well. Don't forget that we're related. I can't believe I'm even entertaining. I don't like, no, option 3. I was thinking about option 3, but I'm not. Oh, 2 is no, I'm not doing this. This is a waste of my time. I want to investigate them. This is like, I wanted to do this. If it were to emerge that the said suspects were lying, the order for them to come forward would never be traceable back to me. I'm just entertaining the thought further. I don't really care. I can't believe I'm even entertaining this thought. The answer is no. I understood, Your Majesty. Carry on with your investigation. Forget I said anything. Rico looked away for a moment. The woods around us were growing denser. If there's anything else you'd like to bring up with your king, now's the time. I was going to say, I mean, the other one would have been, if we were under more polite circumstances, I would have gone with the other one, but we're simply not. I'm sure you've kept abreast of the situation here, Your Majesty. The drugs, the violence, the open resistance against our government. Yeah, I'm not feeling well. I think I'll throw in the towel and fall unconscious now. Of course, I totally understand. Have a good night, Zargos. Take care of yourself. And sleep well. Oh, I hope you feel better. It's concerning indeed. What can I do to help? I'm glad you asked. I've heard that in times of emergency, police from the region's central forces can be placed under individual leaders' direct command. Oh, fuck. He just wants to boost the police. Fuck me. I petitioned your Warren Security Council for just such a transfer, but she refused. Rightly so. You should be cooperating with the greater province of Brenas. You mean the Sezons? He snorted. They can't be counted on to cooperate. If anything, they're actively plotting against us. I'll send you the petition when we are both back home. I trust you to do what's best for our city. I'm not redirecting police here. Deal with it yourself. We pulled off the roads and continued some distance on a dirt path that wound through the pines. We came to a halt at the mouth of a grassy clearing with gently sloping sides. Hunting blinds lined its perimeter. It vaguely resembled a gigantic serving vessel. At last, enough politics talk. We disembarked, and Rico eagerly unlatched the back of our jeep. Bella and Bruno hopped out and started sniffing the air. Caught the scent already, my dears? Must be dozens of boars out there. The other car pulled up next to us. Hugo and Vina got out, still in conversation. So you see, Your Highness, knowing how to aim and fire a gun correctly is as useful a royal skill as knowing how to hold a salad fork. I like to. It's a funny answer. I trust you two enjoyed the car ride. It's always a pleasure to get know the princess better. He waved his son over. But I've bored you enough, Your Highness. I believe Rico is going to show you the ropes. I'd be delighted to if the king permits. He extended his hand to my daughter. It's not my decision. Do you want to go with him, Vina? Yes, I'd love to. We didn't even get a chance to speak at the coronation. I'm glad that was an option. I would have just said, like, no, I'm going to teach her. But, like, it's her choice. I'm happy to just hand it to her. Vina took Rico's hand with a smile. He picked up their guns and walked her over to one of the blinds, dogs in tow. Hugo shrugged. The two of us it is, Your Majesty. An assistant handed me my K-74. It was much heavier than I expected. You and my son may aim for quantity, but I know quality is key. He locked and loaded his own Dator rifle. Its stock had a golden boast bull on it. We climbed up to the hunting blind, opposite of Vina and Rico's position. And now we played the waiting game. There was a long stretch of silence, punctuated only by the chirping of birds and the occasional bark of Bella and Bruno in the distance. I may not like Rico's hunting methods, but his dogs are second to none. They'll drive the boars out here in no time. Why are you so keen that he and Vina go off together? He calmly adjusted his rifle's sight. If my son and your daughter are to be— What the fuck? Hey, whoa, what? Whoa, what the fuck? They're cousins. They're cousins. Okay. If my son and your daughter are to be married, they ought to spend some time together first. Or have you seriously never considered the possibility? What? No, they're okay, I just said that out loud. We have to. What? No, they're cousins. Once removed. Okay, wait, does that mean they're not blood related and it's just by marriage sort of thing? I don't actually know our relation. I don't know the family tree here. I have no idea. Once removed. What are her highness's other options? A rival house, a foreign prince, anyone other than Rico would dilute our family's blood and loosen our grip on the throne. Ew. You may have a point, but still Vina's decision. Letting youngsters follow their hearts is a recipe for disaster. My brother was the ultimate example. Right, okay, wait. Father's brother, his son, my daughter. Yeah, no, they're definitely blood related. They're definitely blood related. As your uncle and your advisor, this is my advice. You may follow or disregard it as you choose. Just then, we heard rustling sounds coming from the woods. Bella and Bruno had found their quarry. A group of boars raced into the clearing, the dogs nipping at their heels. Working in tandem, they forced their prey into the lowest part of the glide. Looking through my gun sight, I fixed my crosshairs on the group. Misintentionally? Hey there. Hello. Yeah, shoot a boar. I took aim and pulled the trigger. I struggled to keep the gun steady as I didn't reach a round of bullets. A round of bullets? I just meant to shoot once. Great to see someone playing Rizia. Yeah, this is my very first time playing it. I'm doing it live on stream. It's been fantastic so far. I love the original, so that's why I replayed it on stream, and then now I'm doing this. It's been awesome. I struggled to keep the gun steady as I reached a round of bullets. The boar scattered, and I heard a high-pitched yelp. Bruno! Oh, shit! Oh, no! Oh, did I hit the dog? Oh, no! Oh, fuck! Rico jumped down from his blind and raced into the clearing. The dog lay on its side, whimpering. Oh, no! Oh, no. Hugo, Vina, and I climbed down as Rico frantically ripped off a piece of his shirt and wrapped it tight around Bruno's bleeding leg. He looked up at me with almost feral eyes. What the hell, cousin? You shot my dog! It's not my fault. I was aiming for the boar. Next time, aim at your own fucking head. For God's sake, Rico, shut your mouth. And that's why we don't have assault rifles. I thought it was a semi-auto. I thought it would be a case of, like, pull the trigger once, and that's it. It said semi-auto. I swear. That's why we don't hunt with it. Yeah, I wouldn't have hunted with it if I knew it wasn't semi-auto. Jesus, this is so screwed. It said semi-auto. Shit. For God's sake, Rico, shut your mouth. My deepest apologies, Your Majesties. My son's not in his right mind. Vina bent down and stroked Bruno's fur. The dog raised his head slightly and licked her hand. Please, Rico. It was an accident. She put her head on Rico's shoulder. He forced himself to take a deep breath. Please excuse my outburst, Your Majesty. I understand you weren't aiming for Bruno. But what good is a hunting dog who can't hunt? Put him out to stud? What does that mean? I actually don't know what that means. Oh, I'm definitely going to take him. I just don't know what put him out to stud means. Yeah, I know. I'll take him. I'll take him then. I wouldn't mind having a dog around the palace. Vina's eyes widened. Really, father? Stud means a breeding dog. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I didn't... Okay, that makes sense. So, okay, so leave him out to breed. I get that. No, half the dog. Really, father? I shot the poor fellow. He's my responsibility now. Rico looked down at his dog. Well, Bruno, do you want to go live in Port Drazon? Bruno whimpered. Rico looked at me and shrugged. Very well, Your Majesty. He eats only raw meat, venison, if you have it. He reached into his vest pocket. Here's his favorite toy. Take good care of him, and I hope you'll give extra consideration to my police request. I won't, thank you. He got to his feet. Rico, Vina, why don't you take Bruno back to the palace? His Majesty and I will wrap up everything here. Rico finally showing a bit of humanity. Honestly, yeah. Genuinely, absolutely. My uncle gave me a meaningful glance. Rico, Vina, why don't you two take Bruno back to the palace? His Majesty and I will wrap up everything here. Okay, he clearly wants to talk. Yes, you two go on. Vina nodded solemnly and turned to Rico. You can tell me more about Bruno on the way. The assistants carefully placed Bruno on a blanket in the back of one of the jeeps. Vina and Rico got in. He in the car, and sped away. Hugo and I got the other jeep and followed them back to the palace. Oh, I thought there was going to be another conversation. Okay then, is this going to be about the dog? Rizia and Perry, businesswoman, associates highlights gender pay gap. Okay, different thing. New report released by Rizia and Perry, Businesswomen's Association, REBA, reveals despite great strides in our kingdom has made for women's rights, inequality persists in the job market. Men still earn significantly more than women, a gap that the REBA report suggests can be surmounted with the help of government intervention. Okay. That's something. Under construction. Wish you told me how much longer. How'd your Swordland run go? Oh, really badly. I've certainly had better Swordland runs, I'll say that much. But yeah, not great. Kinda had to leave by the end there. The whole thing's up on the channel if you're interested. It's a long series, so I completely understand. I'm hoping to shorten it down if I ever get an editor one day. But yeah, it's all up there if you're interested and have a lot of time on your hands. Yeah, I saw some of it. Okay, great. Yeah, honestly, I'll say this much. It didn't end well for Swordland, but it was the most fun I've had ever playing the game, especially live. So it was, it was first time live, but it was great. War or coup? Neither. Major depression. Though the military was getting ready to coup me, so that's why I left the country. Okay, Egypt police transfer. Let's start with that. Egypt police transfer, no. Duke Rico of Taurus of Asia is requested to transfer additional police forces to his direct control to crack down on the recent upswing in crime. These reinforcements will be drawn from the federally controlled Central Police headquartered in Regia Imperia. No. No, it'll just increase his support, drastically in the city, and basically he'll just be flexing the police power. That's it. It's not going to do anything. And also no, because I don't want him to improve his position, frankly. Not selling more energy. Okay, we continue on. Royal visit to the Scarlet Kingbird Festival. Every spring, the seaside town of Salaba is celebrated the Scarlet Kingbird Festival. The vibrantly colored songbirds spent their winters in Xena, near the southern part of what used to be the Musser Empire. Every spring, like clockwork, they flew over the Gulf of Morgna to settle in Salbe. Their return was celebrated with music, dancing, lavish banquets, opened by a speech from the reigning Duke of Salbe. It was traditional for the King of Rizia and his family to attend. The sun hung low in the sky over the Arena Salbe, a 100-year-old air venue perched directly on the beach. Vina and I sat in the royal box as cameras flashed in our direction. I just finished a run where I won the war with Vagzland's help, fixed the economy, funded all 4 ministries, passed constitutional reforms with the constitutional reforms, 225 yes, 1 re-election. It was not easy. Wow, that's impressive. That's huge. You managed to fund all 4 ministries and won the war. That's crazy. I know Zargos has done something similar, but that's really hard. Next time I do a run, it's either going to be a solo war run or a anti-solist run. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Also will be streamed after I finish Kingdom of Rizia. And hopefully I'll be able to stream this more often in the future. My daughter impatiently tapped her fingers on the arm of her chair. We hadn't spoken much since Isha. I promise I won't shoot any of the birds. She laughed bleakly. At least Bruno's adjusting well to life with us. The chefs have him spoiled rotten. A fanfare sounded from the pit orchestra, and an announcer stepped behind the podium. This year, he said, the speech would be given not by the Duke of Salbe, but by the heir of House Sezon. The audience roared as Manus Sezon got on stage. This was no longer the nervous young man I'd met in Port Drazon. He radiated confidence as he stepped up to the podium. Greetings, Salabens. Oh, right, he's the Regent's People Party guy. Cool, okay. He waited for the applause to subside, then he held up a hand for the audience to listen. The entire arena fell silent. The story of the Scarlet Kingbird is a story about trust. Every year, this tiny feathered creature travels thousands of kilometers to reach our shores. He doesn't know what perils await him on the way to his destination, nor what sort of welcome will await him here. Yet he flies on, because something deep within his soul compels him to do so. An inner voice that tells him, this is your home. Kid has charisma. Vina glared at me, then turned her full attention back to the man on stage. I didn't even know about Bruno. Pretty cool the amount of branching paths and things. Yeah, absolutely. The amount of endings, the amount of paths in this game is actually genuinely incredible. Like it's unbelievable. Honestly, I've seen games with replayability. I've never seen a game with this much replayability. It's amazing. And what of those who wait for him? They have no idea where he's been or how he knows to navigate to this exact same spot each time. Still, they gather here, scanning the skies for the first sight of his return. As if on cue, a solitary bird came flying towards us, over the horizon. His plumage was bright red. A lot of it comes down to not having paid voice. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. You can't argue with that. A tear rolled down Manus's cheek. Trust. It's the only way any of this works. Even when we've been given no reason. Even when our faith is tested over and over. A second word followed, then a third. It's only when we place our trust in one another that we are able to find our way. Okay, sorry, I know I'm cutting off, but what you said, a lot of it comes down to not having to pay voice actors. My opinion, this is a separate topic, but that was Telltale's biggest problem. There was no way they could ever create an actually truly branching storyline when they have to pay for animation, they have to pay for voice actors, they have to pay for all this extra stuff, all this very significant cost. You can't have it. Like, you can't have, that much cost and have a genuinely branching story path. For that reason, I think Telltale, for example, is doomed to fail, where other choice games like Suzerain is thriving because you get authentic choices. I won't say anything about Manus, except Manus Sazlin, his friend's Rick. Oh, yeah, for sure. I like this guy way more than Friends Richter. Friends Richter is a kind of a slime ball, honestly. Even if I generally agree mostly with what his party supports, I think the guy himself is honestly a piece of shit. Though, he did have that legendary line of "see you in the history books." That's one I'll remember. That's a good line. The audience gasped as the birds over our heads filled with hundreds and hundreds of kingbirds, their crimson feathers magnificently lit by the setting sun. A giant flock of birds migrating from a distant land. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, that was in the dream sequence. Or no, that the visions that the Grand Wiseman had. Have you ever seen anything so beautiful? Not a huge fan of Caucasian capitalism myself. Yeah, me neither. Though I had to join the ATO because I was screwed. I was so in debt that I had to get bailed out. Yeah, not a fan. It's breathtaking. Vina sniffed. She had tears in her eyes as well. Once the sun had set and the birds had gone to roost, we made our way to the VIP reception in the neighboring pavilion. A big band was playing jazz music as Vina and I entered. We immediately found ourselves surrounded by local officials, celebrities, and members of the press. It was nearly an hour before I was able to sit down. Almost as soon as I parked myself in a chair, I noticed Manus Sazlin making his way over to me. Mr. Sazlin, a pleasure to see you again. Manus smiled and shook my hand. Actually, I've been hoping to speak with you for a long time. Why? What exactly is it you want? He took a measured sip from his wine glass he was holding. I know what you and your family think of me, and I know that my position in government is symbolic at best. But I still think we have a chance to accomplish great things for this country. All right, I'll indulge you. Tell me what you have in mind. Well, Your Majesty, I joined the House of Delegates because of Lucas Sazon, because my father's rash act of violence robbed Rizia of the peaceful transition it deserved. The remaining Sazons and I are in agreement. Our citizens need not shed blood to be granted a voice. The kind of change you're talking about doesn't happen peacefully. Look at how many corpses the century of revolutions left in its wake. It didn't have to be that way. If the kings and queens of your father's generation had been willing to compromise, they might have kept their crowns. Regent already has the framework in place to become a true constitutional monarchy, a place where citizens have a greater say in the lawmaking process, but the royals keep their status and influence. I heard your coronation speech. I believe your aims are the same as mine. They are, and I believe there may come a time we can act on them. Of course, I would never presume to tell the King of Rizia how the country should be run. Just know that should you choose to lead Rizia in a more democratic direction, we are prepared to back you. How exactly would you back me? Think of us as your conduit to the region people. If you have enough support from them, the other houses won't dare go against you. That's a good point. That's a good point. I agree with the idea of reforming Risha and empowering our legislative body. It's my wish that we work together to make it a reality. I don't know how true that is. Yeah, okay, you're right, but the way I see it is that, or at least not until you centralize the police. Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I didn't consider that directly. What I was going to say, however, was that in the most literal sense, if all the populace is behind you, they have all the power. They have frankly, quite point blank, the power of labor and the power to withhold taxes if they're united in one thing. If the royals go against me, a very, very popular king, the people are more able to respond. But you are right. If I don't decentralize the police, they have far more ability to crack down on the people. That's a very good point. I want to see if I can do anything about that. I agree with the idea of reforming Rizia and empowering our legislative body. It's my wish we work together to make that a reality. Manus's eyes lit up. He smiled confidently. We can discuss this back at the Capitol, Your Majesty. Come to the House of Delegates. You should have an idea how the current system works before we begin talking about how to fix it. I'll be there. With a smile, he stood up and pushed back his chair. I've taken enough of your time. If you'll excuse me, I'll freshen up my drink. He turned around to head to the bar and came face to face with Vina, who was returning to our table. Her face was slightly flushed. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Suzerain. Nothing to excuse, Your Highness. I hope you're enjoying the time in Salabay. I think there's a decree about that. I hope so. I don't think it's there now, at least not that I remember, but I assume there will be one soon. I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be very interesting. I was just speaking to the bartender. He's still trying to get the rest of his family out of Durgia. I told him I'd see what I could do. Manus smiled warmly. That's very noble of you, but there are thousands like him, and not all of them are lucky enough to catch the Princess of Rizia at a benevolent moment. He's right. We've got to tackle this problem at the root, not by granting special favors. Vina ignored my remark. Okay, sure, that's fine. I'm not hurt. Your speech was beautiful, Mr. Sazon. Actually, it reminded me of an essay of Queen Lysia's from 1883 on social contracts. Yes, that was one inspiration. What were the others? The band began playing Sweetheart of Entry City, an upbeat tune that has recently reached us from Arcasia. You know what? Tell me after this dance. She took a step closer towards Manus and extended a hand to him. He looked at me questioningly. You don't need my permission. Have fun. Vina beamed. Manus took her hand and rose from his seat. I mean, he's right. Vina taking the Mr. Beast approach to solving people's problems. That's true, but unlike Mr. Beast, Vina's not a scumbag. She's just trying to actually help where she can. But yeah, I take your point. Well, this is faster than the dances I've been learning. Do you know the steps? As a matter of fact, I do. I'll walk you through it. He led Vina out into the dance floor. Cameras flashed as the two of them started dancing. I wonder if the photographers were capturing the look in my daughter's eyes. In all the years I'd been with Lena, my wife had never looked at me that way. Aw. That was sweet. That was really sweet. Sazon Air gives speech about trust, but can he be trusted? Ooh. Rufus Grag's royal gossip. Vina dances at last. Oh boy. Young heir to House VIP visitors this year's Scarlet King Bird Festival treated to the sight of Hiddeness Vina and Duke Manus making goo-goo eyes at each other while cutting a rug. Cutting a rug? Just a polite dance or something more? And what? Oh, what will her father say? Stay tuned, dear readers. President Walker boosts welfare, faces economic challenge. Really? Wait, I want to read this. President Dwight Walker's strategic choice to swell Arcasia's welfare spending through deficit financing has emerged as a double-edged sword, quelling social unrest but catapulting the nation's debt-to-GDP ratio to the brink at 90%. Whoa. This fiscal gambit has earned political dividends, quashing protests and buoying Walker's approval ratings, yet it has simultaneously contributed to a dip in public support for Charles Devereux of the Reformist Union. The Walker administration now faces the daunting task of upholding social welfare commitments while steering the Arcadian economy through an increasing precarious financial landscape. Interesting. Yeah, she's not selling kids moldy cheese slices, literally. Reminds you of when Trump did stimulus checks during the early days of... Absolutely. Exactly the same thing. Yeah, completely. It's the exact same method. Region oil... Oh, actually, the only difference is that Trump didn't really have anyone contesting him with actual change. But here, it seems that based on how this is worded and how it seems, the Reformist Union was actually promising something. The Democrats were just promising not to make things worse. That's my take on it, at least. The Russian Oil and Gas Corporation is continuing its assessment of the newly discovered gas field off the country's coast, tentatively named Aureus. In cooperation with Pelagian scientists, a team of geologists have begun seismic surveys to determine the field's exact borders. It is expected that the surveys will be completed within the next several months. Did I approve the... I didn't. I thought I approved the thing to do more excavation or investigation. Oh. Golconda's pilgrims demand access Morella border. Decided on the Golconda's pilgrims passage request. A considerable congregation of devout Golconda's pilgrims from Durja and Morella have congregated at the Port d'Arts border, seeking entry into Rizia for their sacred pilgrimage. Allowing these pilgrims to cross into Rizia could boost global image as a bastion of tolerance and compassion. However, these groups may intend to visit holy sites that are currently restricted under our laws. Yeah, I'll let them in. We want to improve our neighbors with our relationships with our neighbors. So this is just a good choice. Oh, the gold guy. Well, we have Arcadian capitalism. Now here's region capitalism. Let's see it. On the banks of Zapana River in Bronaz stood Palace Verana. Almost as opulent as my own palace, it had once served as a summer residence for my ancestors, the Rubas family. Today, it was the home of Ruscello Rusty Montoro, the CEO of the Region Royal Gold and the wealthiest commoner in the country. I stepped out onto the deck of the Regania as the yacht approached the palace's private dock. Hugo and Elena were already there, gazing out the grounds. Can't believe what I'm seeing. Palace Verana without its water garden is no palace at all. I think it's an improvement myself, but what do you make of this, Majesty? Wealthiest commoner stepped on the deck as the yacht approached the palace's private dock. Can't believe what I'm seeing. Palace Verana without its water garden is no palace at all. I think it's an improvement myself, but what do you make of it, Your Majesty? I looked in the direction she was indicating. The water garden, once a tranquil oasis filled with blossoming flowers and gently burbling fountains, had been replaced with a gigantic gold-tiled swimming pool. Ew, that's so gaudy. Remind me, how did a man like him take over the most powerful corporation in Rizia? He's got a knack for being in the right place at the right time. Legend has it he worked his way up from regional mine supervisor via a series of backroom deals and boardroom betrayals. Suddenly, a group of armed men exited the palace in single file. They positioned themselves at equal intervals around the dock. Excuse me. They followed us with their eyes as we disembarked and walked towards the palace veranda. As I passed the largest guard, I noticed he was wearing a badge that read Palantir Security Solutions. Good morning, sir. He stared at me with a look of non-comprehension. Oh, is he? Oh, he doesn't speak Rizia. Maybe. Actually, I don't know that. Rusty rose from where he'd been sitting and rushed over to us. Okay. Antoine, that's no way to treat our royal visitors. The guard reluctantly bowed to me. Rusty ushered us past him and showed us to a set of chairs. The gold magnate's red hair was streaked with gray, but his eyes had a useful mischief about them. On behalf of all of us at the esteemed Region Royal Gold Corporation, I do hereby extend my cordial greetings. He trailed off with a grin. Heck, I was never one for formalities. Welcome to my palace, Your Majesty. Thank you, Mr. Montoro. Name's Rusty. Calling me Mr. Montoro is like trying to put an elevator in our house. That's a funny line. He turned to Hugo and Elena. Your Grace, Madam Treasurer, haven't had a sit-down with you two since the last man wore the crown. My uncle gritted his teeth. You must mean my honorable brother, His Majesty King Valero. May he rest in peace. Now, Hugo, Rusty paid his respect at the funeral like everyone else. She shook Rusty's hand. He beckoned for us to sit as his butlers brought over water and fresh fruit. So how's business? Well, we'll get to that, Your Majesty. Settle down. Have a drink first. A shame Her Highness couldn't make it. Too occupied with her latest beau. One dance does not a beau make. We'll thank you not to speculate about Princess Vina's romantic prospects. Agreed. We're keeping the topic of my daughter's love life within the family. Well, alright. I'll cut through the chase then. He sat back and unbuttoned the top button of his shirt. You know there would be no Rizia without Rizia Royal Gold. I like this, but except for the both of us equally part, because it's not been equal. Yes, RG has contributed greatly to Rizia's wealth, and continues to do so even as we speak. My point being, it's fair to say what concerns me concerns this country. And right now, what concerns me is this. He picked up a piece of paper from the table next to him. It was a flyer with a few sentences written in both Rizia and Vejek. Supervisors at my mind are picking up hints that the workers are holding after-hour meetings on the subject of unsafe conditions. Oh. Have you tried, I don't know, improving those conditions? Meeting workers' demands is like feeding zoo animals. The more you give them, the hungrier they get. Fuck you, dude. Have there been any accidents lately? Anything that might have triggered this? Rusty snorted. Accidents have been part of this job since the dawn of time. Used to say you weren't a real miner until you were missing a finger. That's barbaric. Not all of us are lucky enough to sit on thrones our entire lives. Hugo cleared his throat. Do you have a request of His Majesty, Mr. Montoro, or have you merely invited us here to complain? I actually appreciate him for that one. Not complain, warn. I'm not going to change a thing about the way my minds operate, so sooner or later, this is going to land in your lap. RG's value has been going down since we lost Gio. New safety regulations might sound fine and dandy, but they'd be a death blow to our bottom line. How much revenue would you stand to lose? Hard to say. Implementing the regulations themselves would cost a pretty penny. And what do you think will happen if we pass those costs onto our trading partners? They'll hit the road faster than my first ex-wife. Elena raised her eyebrows. We have been seeing more global competition on the gold market, unfortunately. But for now, our product is of high enough quality that Roomberg is willing to pay more for it. Yes, but if the prices rise further still, I'd rather not admit it, but Mr. Montoro might have a point. We still have the Meftium International Trade Zone, don't we? Well, that's the other thing. I'm sure you know all about Alma Sultana. First female Prime Minister of Morella. Pioneer. A pioneering pain in our behind. Woman's never picked up a chisel in her life, and she suddenly knows how to run the MITZ. She started calling for regulation over there as well, or worse, nationalization. Morella doesn't have unilateral power over the international trade zone. Rizia, Lesbia, and Vagsland all have a say. And guess which one of those Miss Sultana has been cozying up to on the subject? If she and Hegel get their way, Rizia will either lose its mining rights, or our boys will have to pray that to millennia before we go to work every morning. Actually, Millennium is a staunch atheist. That's a really interesting reference. I like that. She should have the... do I want to say that? That still leaves us in Lesbia. I mean, I hate him, and I disagree with him, but I don't want to tip him off on what I want to do. That still leaves us in Lesbia. It's hard to say if we can count on Lesbia's cooperation. Of course, they abhor Bagsland, but we don't have the friendliest history with them either. We'll have to keep an eye on this. Aren't most of your miners labor hands from foreign countries? Would the regulations even apply to them? They most certainly would. Now that labor hands have the same protection as honest to good regions. That's what I did. I did that with the signing of the decree that made them, that brought them up to equality. Honestly, Your Majesty, I just about ate my hat when you made that decree. I lost enough money granting all kinds of benefits to folks who don't even understand how lucky they are to work here. Giving them more would damn near bankrupt me. A little extreme, don't you think? I agree we shouldn't impose more regulations than necessary, but investing in safer and healthier employees could lead to profit in the long term, foreigners included. Your company will rebound when we get Gilles back. I sure hope that's in the cards, Your Majesty. A little nub of land is home to some of the fattest gold veins my company's ever found. No way Velen can mine it all in 25 years. You're saying that RRG's mining operations in the region could pick up where they left off? Yes, ma'am. Assuming we got it back without making too much of a mess. Rusty took a big bite out of a watermelon slice. He wiped the juice off his chin. Look, you know me. I don't mince words. I think you already realize that it's in both of our interests for you to back me up in this squabble. But hey, I'll sweeten the deal. Keep your administration's nose out of RRG's business, and I'll sell you back the share I took from your father. Elena pushed her chair back and stood up. I'm going to rescue myself from this conversation. Where's the ladies' room? Just inside. If you've never sat in a solid gold toilet, you're in for a treat. She forced a smile as a butler escorted her out. Hugo, Rusty, and I glanced at each other. Seems like RRG's in trouble anyway. Of course you're eager to sell it off. Gold is gold. Long as you let us keep doing things the way we've always have. There'll be plenty of money to be made. I'd love to behead him. That would be cool. I don't want to be too aggressive. More gold revenue for our kingdom is tempting, but not if it comes at the expense of workers' lives. You've been listening to the naysayers too much, Your Majesty. We miners know how to protect our own. You're not a miner. Fuck you. Sorry, I have such disdain for these people. I won't keep wasting your time. Do we have a deal or don't we? Okay, option 1. I accept. I'll make sure no new regulations pass on mining, but you'll let the kingdom alter its stake in RG. I'll decide on the regulations when the time comes. In the meantime, I promise nothing. Rusty shrugged. Suit yourself. Elena stepped back into the room. That was colder than I expected. Are you gentlemen finished? Hugo practically sprang from his seat. It's been a delight, truly, but we must be headed back to Port Dreslon. And here I was about to ask you to stay for lunch. So soon, Your Majesty. Please excuse my uncle's hastiness. Lunch would be lovely. Rusty cracked a triumphant smile. Sorry, Your Grace. Got to pretend to be civil to me a while longer. Hugo and Elena sat back down as butlers began bringing out our midday meal. Oh, did they like that? The letting them in? I guess. Okay. Where is that workers' rights decree? Is that here by any chance? Oh, equal gender pay. That's here too. That could be good, but later on. I should do the inheritance tax thing, actually. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Oh, here's the geological survey thing. Oh. I should have done this a long time ago. Ooh, that might have been a mistake. Oh well. We march on. Erdmarg signals joining non-aligned movement. Surveying nears completion on potentially massive new gas field in West Asian. We're still surveying the borders of this recently discovered field. Shit, I absolutely should have done that. I should have done that. Exploration, prospect, discover new mines. I should have done that sooner. Okay. Royal visit to Monteclar. From anywhere in the city of Monteclar, you could look high into the hills and see the ruins of Fortress Azaro. Expanded and fortified over the centuries, it had served as a stronghold for the city's inhabitants from the early years of the Regnate Empire until its destruction in the War of Region Succession. Today, the ruins served as a symbol of Monteclar's resilience, and that of its governing house. Perhaps that was why Lucida had invited me here for a tour and a private talk. For safety's sake, a wooden walkway had been constructed over the crumbling remains of the parapets. Lucida and I walked along until we came to the northwestern corner. How do you like the view, Your Majesty? From here, we could look down into the valley, where the provincial capital sprawled across the flat, fast-flowing Arlca River, and up into the foothills of the mountains opposite us. Imagine how this fortress must have looked 1,000 years ago. Incredible, isn't it? The fortress was closed off for our visit, but a crowd had gathered just outside its walls. We waved down to them, then turned away. Following the walkway towards the former armory, our aides and guards stayed a respectable distance behind. Not even the Markians could destroy this place, you know. Only when Rija's noble families turned against each other did it finally fall. She paused and turned towards to face me. It took years for the Azaro and Torres families to repair their bond. I hope our houses will remain harmonious through your reign. Is that why you brought me here, Duchess Azaro? In part, yes. Your father and I were close, Your Majesty. General Tadius told me that he felt free to express his true opinions to the king with no fear of repercussion. Lucida bitter-lipped. She seemed uncharacteristically nervous. I'd like it if you and I had a similar relationship. I want to have that relationship with all my counselors, Duchess. Nobody should feel like they have to hold back their opinions. Perfect, Your Majesty. Thank you. She was smiling, but I registered slight disappointment in her eyes. It's precisely your willingness to speak your mind that makes you such a valuable asset on my council. I'm pleased to hear that. She stared out the surrounding mountains before turning back to me. So, on the subject of speaking my mind, my house and I had questions regarding your recent meeting in Salve. Sources say you were quite deep in conversation with the House Sazon heir. We were speaking of repairing the bond between our houses. As you yourself said, Risha can only be strong if all of its royal families stand together. The Sazons were never a royal family, just a group of merchants who fancied themselves higher than their true station. You know the entire house is still suspected to have ties to Arcasia. That isn't surprising. Arcasia has eyes and ears everywhere. They and their allies have spent the better part of the century trying to undermine us. All the more reason not to trust that man around your daughter. My daughter's allowed to consort with whomever she wants. Surely you understand that as a modern woman. As the woman in charge of this country's security, all I see is an agent of chaos attempting to get cozy with the royal family. We had come to a small grassy patch in the shade of the fortress's southern wall. Lucida gestured for me to sit down. I had one more thing that I wanted to bring up while we were alone. When I took over my father's position on the Royal Council, he gave me a trove of his old files. Wedged between standard purchase orders and internal security reports, I found this. She reached into her pocket and unfolded a thin square of paper. It was a map of Palais. Overlaying the outline of the Grand Duchy were arrows, diagrams of tanks and battalions, and hastily scribbled instructions. Some of them were in my father's handwriting. Look at the date, 1949. So they were plotting another attempt on Palais? That's not surprising. Had this been attempted, it would have been a complete rout. All glory to King Valero, but perhaps it's fortunate that he died before this could be carried out. It pains me to say so, but yes, better that he died rather than order more soldiers to their deaths. Then again, it's possible they never intended to execute this plan. It could have been idle daydreaming. I don't understand why this even exists, though. Why does Rizia need to reconquer Palais? Lucida shook her head. It's an outdated concept, invading territories based on century-old grudges. Of course, my family would disagree. My province never got over losing our access to the sea. But I don't see any merit in taking back Palais, at least not for historical reasons. I trust your guidance, Duchess. If there's a reason you think we should go to war with Palais again, I want to know. She looked away. I don't want to sound paranoid. But with Lesbia and ATO and Morella becoming closer to Vagzland and the CSP, I do wonder whether our neighbor will get swallowed up in the superpower conflict. That's a legitimate worry. Look what happened to Velen in the 1930s. Occasion and United Contana nearly destroyed it by proxy in a rush to gain its access to oil. And now Palais may be sitting on an even more valuable resource. Lesbia's involvement in Palais is clear, but we haven't seen any signs the CSP has designs on it. Not yet, but with Morella edging closer to Vagzland, they might be emboldened to try for a reconquest of their own. Think of it as a chess game. Sometimes it's better to remove certain pieces from the board before it's too late. That doesn't mean I think we should attack Palais again. Using diplomacy to get them on our side would be a more effective tactic. I know that. I've been aiming for diplomacy this entire time. If we get into a dispute over the new gas field, it may be more difficult to stay the course. If you wanted me to, I could send a task force to Palais to monitor the situation more closely. I wouldn't even need extra funding. Your expansion of the Golden Guards create a few redundancies in our intelligence division. Thank you for the suggestion, but I'm afraid such an action will be misinterpreted as aggression. The idea would be to avoid aggression, but I understand. She began standing up. I appreciate you coming to me with all this. Please feel free to express your unfettered opinions to me in the future. You can count on it. It's nearly 4. Let me show you something. She gestured to the stone wall behind us. A metal ladder led to the top of a small watchtower, now the fortress's highest surviving structure. Lucia scaled it in a matter of seconds. Follow her. I followed her up to the top of the tower. From this side, we could see Camp Domus, the country's largest military training facility. It stretched far into the distance, with hundreds of barracks clustered around grounds that simulated all types of terrains. We looked down into the main square. A platoon of some 50 soldiers, mostly men, but a few women as well, were preparing for an exercise. Listen closely. A drummer to the side of the square beat out a complex rhythm on a snare. Long, short, short, long. That's an inverted wedge. The soldiers snapped into a V formation, narrow at the back, widening towards the front. Very impressive. The best trained soldiers in South Mercopa. Another rhythm came from the drum. Two rim shots was followed by a rapid roll. Extended lines spreading into the herringbone. Almost unconsciously, she started moving along with the soldiers, but as she put her left foot down, the section of wall beneath it suddenly gave way. She began falling backwards. Grab her arm. I grabbed her arm and pulled her towards me in safety. She looked up at me in surprise, breathing heavily. Don't let go. I held on to her for a few long seconds. Her eyes softened as they met my— Oh, wait, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. I just didn't want to let her fall. Nice reflexes, Your Majesty. From below, a camera clicked. Shit. From below, a camera clicked. A news photographer had managed to reach the base of the fortress and capture a picture of us. Lucida hurriedly stepped away from me, brushed herself off, and turned to the guards. Now, who the hell let that happen? You are to find this photographer and prevent the publication of this picture at all costs. Ooh, do I try to cover it up? Do not berate our staff, Duchess Cesaro, but yes, I don't want this photograph getting out. The guards nodded. One of them sprinted off in the direction of the photographer. To be continued. Wait, no, that has implications. That was close. That was close. Wouldn't want anyone to think anything untoward was happening between us. Certainly not, Your Majesty. Lucida avoided my gaze as we left the fortress. Interesting. She might like me. Oh! Gasfield survey reaches completion. The region surveyor ships sent to assess the boundaries of the Arius gas field have returned to Calacabez and reported their findings. They've discovered at least half of the field lies within 200 kilometers of the island, giving Riga a claim to it. Our foreign ministry has contacted Pelasian Duke Axel Reinhardt. It is expected a meeting will be arranged to discuss these findings and our country's next steps. Okay. Solon enters economic recession despite efforts. I see. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick look through here. I don't have... Yeah, no, actually, I don't have any authority. I don't have any money. I don't have any more tanks to sell. So, I think we'll leave that here. This has been a good episode. So, what have we got? We're hopefully trying to get better relations with the House of Delegates. We're trying to improve the lives of the region people. I think we've done a pretty good job of being diplomatic with Velen, Durja, and Morella, and Palais. We have improved our relations with Rumburg and are constructing a new port here. So that should be able to improve our gold exports, our whiskey and wine exports from Swordland, and improve our tourism industries. Something I want to do in the future, hopefully. There's a thing for that to renovate one of the areas, and that'll boost tourism, which could be really good. But overall, I think we're on a good track. We have to be careful, though, due to international influence and, you know... Actually, I'm very worried about Rusty. That's one thing I have to think about. But today was a very, very good episode. Well, without much more dilly-dallying, thank you all so much for watching this episode. This has been great. This has been the third episode of the Kingdom of Rizia, first time playthrough, so I'm really, really excited to see what happens next. In the off chance, you know, there may be a chance that I'm going to switch my streaming schedule over to Saturdays instead of Sundays, but I'm not sure about that yet, but we'll see that soon. But regardless of all that, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this stream, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. It would mean a lot to me. I am so grateful for all the support I've received on this series and the original Swordland series. The support for this really fun hobby of mine has been wonderful, and I really appreciate it. Sorry, I'm cracking my knuckles. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, have a wonderful night. Bye.